So first of all, I know this session's being recorded, so if any of you who are going to be watching this after the session, and obviously, of course, indeed, any of you who are here right now, it's great to have you. And I'm just going to be going through a demonstration of our bettercare support platform. So first of all, you'll be able to see here on the home page, we've gone for a clear and simple layout, and the content and the language used here is designed to really push the strengths-based approach right from the start of the user experience, as well as giving users a sense of what to expect from the tool. So the first thing that I'm going to do on here is select the button here for begin your supported self-assessment. So we're now going to get to a point where I now get to a login screen. So we can support various different options with this. As you'll be able to see, we've got sort of like a Facebook and we've got a Google login option. All that will do is just take my ID across from that particular service. It's not going to go and post to my timeline or anything like that on Facebook. You probably noticed on a number of websites nowadays where you've got that kind of quick login option using something like Facebook or Google. There's an email address login option and mobile phone registration stroke login option. Those, I guess, are kind of more of a traditional approach taken. And the reference number option you actually see just shortly, because the first thing that I'm actually going to do in this instance is that I'm going to select the option here to continue as a guest. And what this has now done is generated me a reference number, which is assigned to me. And the great thing about how this works now is that I can take a photograph of it using my smartphone, or I can make a note of it. I'm also able to link my smartphone with my account if I wanted to get like a text message reminder of that reference number. But this is something which is actually used on our other technologies around, using a similar platform where we have this reference number capability where it allows somebody to have like a guest registration or login process. They can start completing their assessment and all of their progress will be saved in real time. So they can quite easily just log back in with that reference number, which allows them to kind of complete things in manageable chunks. So I'm going to select the option here for yes, I recorded the reference number. So once the user signed in, they're initially presented with this page where we try and reinforce the strengths-based messaging, as well as highlighting what happens after the self-assessment. So you can see that on the text here. So for the time being, at least, I'm just going to select the option here to start a new assessment. So this is the part of the self-assessment workflow where users are going to be asked to select which areas which areas apply where they feel that they need more support. So there are 10 different areas which are listed, which all cover the different eligibility outcomes under the CARE Act. We've simplified the titles and language so that they are written in plain English and I guess more reflective of the less formal language used by people who aren't social care professionals. The workflow of each area follows exactly the same pattern, albeit with slightly different lines of questioning relevant to the sort of eligibility outcome area. So I'm just going to select the option here to now choose getting dressed and choosing what clothes to wear. So what I'm certainly hoping for now is that hopefully we're not going to have any problems with the animation. Lottie, perhaps you'll be able to shout if for whatever reason the audio isn't coming through when I play this, please.
Yeah, of course, that's fine.
Sure.
Yeah, I can't hear anything at the moment.
Okay. That's a bit of a shame. I think, unfortunately, for whatever reason, we do seem to be having some slight teething problems with this and the way that the animations are actually playing through the platform. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else that I can quickly do
Are there any links that you could share in the chat?
There are links, yes, absolutely. So if you bear with me just a moment, what I can do is that we do have a animation preview page. And we'll get that into the chat. So then that way, if anybody wants to kind of review any of this information, they can obviously do that in their own time, which would obviously certainly encourage you to do. So let's pop this in here. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this animation preview page into the chat. So rather than just kind of continue to go and flog a dead horse with these animations, I'm probably going to give up at this point with actually trying to play them to you guys. It's a bit of a shame because it's certainly the kind of the main focal point of the platform and the focus on it. So if I go and select this option here where we go on to getting dressed and choosing what clothes to wear, so everything is then sort of, everything starts off by that sort of introductory video. So this is really the aim of this introductory video is to set the scene for the user and gives them an idea of what the section includes, as well as providing some visual cues so that they can actually start thinking about their own situation. One thing that we've certainly endeavored to do with this as well is that you'll notice that as I kind of continue on here, we've got this progress bar at the top. So I'm going to go to continue to questions now, and after I've watched my introductory video, I'm then asked with a and presented with a triage question. So it's asking me here, how do I feel about getting dressed and choosing what clothes to wear? So in this particular instance, I'm going to select the option to say that I need help. So now it's going to ask me to select as many options that I think may apply to me. So I'm going to select the option here for I need support to dress and undress myself. And you'll notice that depending on what options I select here, you can see my progress bar at the top is adapting. So if I was to choose all three, of course, as well as being asked more questions as part of my assessment, I do also have more scenario videos which help me to really sort of think about my own circumstances and to aid me with answering those particular questions. So in this example, I'm just going to select the option here to say I need support to dress and undress myself. So this is then where we would then get led over to a scenario animation. And this particular video is covering someone's ability to dress and undress themselves. And a lot of this is very prescriptive. So it's going to be talking and obviously taking a strengths-based approach, but it's going to be talking a lot about things like helping hands, shoehorns, other type of tools that could help somebody to actually get dressed easily. And then for things like jumpers and sweaters, talking about easy to use things like such as zips and such in terms of getting those on and off. So that's really, I guess, what these sort of animations would sort of go through at that point. But as I said, you'll just have to trust me on that. Unfortunately, I can't show this to you right now, but that link that I've shared with you within the chat during the session, you'll actually be able to preview a range of different animations there, and should give you a really good flavor for how rich and in depth they are in terms of guidance and assistance to the service user. So I'm going to go on to the option here to continue with my questions. So now we're at this point. What I'm going to select after this is to select the option to say that I cannot dress or undress myself. So going on to this now, I'm going to select that and then go on to next. And then it's come up to say, do you think that you would benefit from some equipment to help you dress and undress yourself? So I'm going to select the option for yes. And this is now where it's going to ask me to sort of input a little bit of information to tell me more about what is and what isn't kind of working for me currently. So if you just bear with me, I am just going to sort of copy and paste over some dummy text into this, just so you guys can sort of have a bit of an idea of how an assessment will look once that's completed as well. So I'm just going to stop popping this across. Okay, so and as I'm doing this, you can see some of the questions here. So we've got one here about any aids or equipment that I already use to help me. And in this particular instance, the answer that I'm putting in here is to say that I don't currently have any aids or use any equipment, but I'd like to know more about how that can help me. I have another query here around any ideas on how I might want help to achieve help with getting dressed and undressed. So, and this is more of sort of an answer putting in, which I guess is a realistic scenario where somebody would say that they don't really know what they can do to achieve this outcome. So at this point, I'm going to go and select the option for next. And you'll be able to see now that my assessment here is now updated as completed. Now I can pick and choose which of these different areas that I want to assess myself under. And if I was to, for example, here go and select the option for staying safe at home, each of these different Care Act areas, they all follow the exact same workflows. So in this particular instance, if I was to play this video for you now, I would have an introduction around staying safe at home. Once I've watched that video, it's then going to present me with a triage question, which then the whole aim being, after I've watched that animation, being in a much better position to actually think about how I'm going to answer this question. If I was to then say, I can do this for myself with the support I already have, it's going to take me to the end of that process and say that I'm completed. Or if I then go to I need help, this is again where the sort of dynamic element to the assessment comes in, because depending on how I answer, so if I was to say I need some help to use home appliances safely, and if I was also to say, and you'll notice that that's how my progress bar looks at the top there, but if I was to also add the option here to say I need help to move around my home safely, you can see I have a lot more sort of questions that form part of the assessment, and also further scenario videos. So I'm going to go back to the time being, just to get back to my my assessment here. So I think for the purposes of this demo, I'm not going to go through any other areas. They all do follow the same workflow. But what I'm just going to do now is that's under sort of personal details. What I would then do once I've then kind of gone through and completed the different areas of the assessment that I was happy with and wanted to go through and complete, I'm just going to put in some further dummy text here. In this particular instance, NHS number not being mandatory, so thankfully I don't have to try and make that up right now, so that's good. And then on to telephone number. We have this option down the very bottom where it's going to ask me about if anybody else is completing this assessment on behalf, or is this assessment, sorry, being completed on behalf of somebody else. Now, if I was to tick the option for yes, that's now then going to give me the ability to put in further information and clarify who is actually completing the assessment. For the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to be saying no, and then I'm going to select the option here. Oh, there you go. It's obviously flagged that I've not actually completed everything as I should have. So I've not completed my marital status. So at least that's working. Okay, so you'll notice now that I've actually completed my personal details. I now have the option to preview and submit. That was previously sort of grayed out. So I can actually do this now. And this is now then going to take me to kind of the main sort of I guess preview of the assessment. So what it's just asking me to do here is just to double check all of the details that I've entered in on my assessment are correct. So I can scroll down here and just review all of this. I've also then got the answers to my assessment around getting dressed and choosing what clothes to wear. And you can see the examples of the text that I've entered there. And as soon as I'm happy, I can select the option to submit. It's now told me that my assessment has been submitted. I can download the PDF of that assessment as well. But if I now go on to continue, it's now going to take me to the kind of main sort of dashboard area within the platform, where I can also see previously submitted assessments in here as well. So I think that one of the things which is really great about this, and I touched upon this as part of the slide deck that I went through earlier, is the sort of prescriptive nature of how the platform works. So you'll notice that I've completed one assessment here, and then we've got 3 different suggestions which come up, which is based on my assessment and the area and basically how I've answered. So it's actually now signposting me towards a few different links for dressing aids. I've got another one here for home help, and all of this content, as well as us being able to signpost to suggestions for national content, we would also have sort of really kind of local quality content in there as well, which is what we would work with you on as part of any implementation. So as part of implementation for this, you'd be assigned a dedicated content manager, and they would be able to go through and actually set up a lot of this signposting for you. So with this in mind, it does become a very personal experience, because how I answer my assessment then drives this kind of suggestions section. So it kind of allows me to actually go through and get that kind of really prescriptive sort of help and support. So I've also got options on here where I can kind of filter through last assessment and also sort of based on all assessments as well. So I get like a little, in this particular instance, I'm on the demo site, so I've got like a reference number on this, and I can select the option again to download my document. The way this would typically work from a technical perspective, if this is useful to know for anybody wanting to know about how this can potentially get into the back office and that kind of stuff, we would typically be able to trigger a delivery which would have the PDF file of the assessment that's been completed, and then there's a separate data file, a customer information file, which would have all of the relevant metadata that's been completed as part of this assessment, and we would then typically deliver that to, I guess, a designated location, depending on your preference for where you want that delivered to. Now, our job for the most part is ensuring the format and the setup of that data file is configured in a way so that it will be importable for whatever case management system or anything else that you may be sort of wanting to use with this, and then you can sort of hoover up the data from there. So that's certainly how that would typically work. One thing I have realized I've kind of forgotten to sort of mention with this is that please, if anybody does have any questions, please don't be afraid to put them into the chat. More than happy to address anything, obviously, as we go along. But from here, what I would actually like to do is also show you and give you a bit of an idea for what's possible as part of the admin site as well. So if you bear me just a second, I'm just going to open this up. Okay, so I'm going to sign in to this admin portal. So the way that this would work is that every local authority would have a dedicated admin portal like this. They would have their own dedicated admin site. Access would be restricted by sort of username and password, and there's also an extra layer of security with two-factor authentication with this as well. From a local authority perspective, appropriate members of staff are supplied with accounts so they can securely access not only all of the management information as part of your site, but they're also able to sort of search through applications, and there's a load of features which are possible as part of that as well. So if, for example, if I was to go on to analytics here, this is going to give me a bit of information around things like how many sessions that there have been and what sort of time of day these sessions are, that kind of stuff, general kind of site traffic. But what's really great about this as well is that I have like an application search feature. So either I can search by reference number. Would help if I actually got the reference number correct, but actually, hold on a second. Let's start by searching with name. So we know that I put in the details for Joe. Here we go. So there's a submission that I've just submitted earlier. So the application ID in this instance, 1063, I'll search for that in just a second, just so that we can actually see that being used as well. But from here, I can copy the application if I want to. I can also download a PDF of the application. If I was to research this time using the actual reference number, this will actually then also present me with the application details, as you can kind of see there. So it does kind of give that kind of full oversight to staff members for assessments that are coming in, and gives them the ability to sort of review all of that information. So I think in reality, whilst this is all rather short and sweet, I think that in terms of being able to cover what I have so far, but without actually being able to play and share the animations directly for you, I think that probably covers everything from this live demo session. I'm not just going to sit here and just kind of talk fluff for you guys, because I'm sure that there are other sessions you might want to be jumping onto as well. But what I would absolutely do is encourage, if anybody has any questions following this or wants to have a look at this in more detail, then please do let me know. I know that my slide deck and my contact details will certainly be shared following the session. And also, I would just encourage everybody, the link that was shared earlier, which gives that sort of animations preview. I would encourage everybody to actually watch those, because it will give you a real sort of insight into those animations, which obviously I haven't been able to show you during the session. So yes, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of the event. Thank you.